Hello, my name is Kelly Bluen. I am a certified Zentangle teacher. Welcome to 15 Minutes of Zen. In these videos, I show you how to make one tangle pattern using the Zentangle method of drawing. Today I'm using my Micron pen. This is a PN, plastic nib pen. I have a little graphite pencil and a blending tool. And then I'm making my tangle on a little 2" by 2" tile called the Bijou tile. All of these are available at zentangle.com. So today's pattern is called Cayke, and it was created by Rose Brown. So she said it reminded her of cake decorations and also parade banners. And it's just lovely. I'm excited to make this one today. All right, so we're going to begin by putting with our pencil a dot in each of the 4 corners. I do it nice and light, and then I'm going to connect this with my pencil. And then we create this nice little square frame that we're going to draw inside. Okay, if I were to be drawing this just like on a piece of paper, just doodling and having fun, I would not draw a grid. I would just make these cute little loops and fill them in. That'll make sense in a moment. But for today, I'm gonna draw a grid so that we can make sure that ours kind of line up evenly, okay? So I'm going to start by very, very lightly with my pencil. I'm going to put a line across the center, and I'm not too concerned about this being exact because it just doesn't matter for this pattern. And then I'm going to divide the top in half and the bottom in half. So I end up with 4 sections. But then across this way, I want it to be in thirds. And when I think about thirds, I feel like it's like 1, 2, 3 pens. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to guess at where I think a third is there and where I think a third is there. This is the most complicated part. Again, it'll make sense in a moment. Okay, once I get that grid in, again, I did 4 sections horizontally, but I did 3 sections vertically. Okay, I'm gonna pick up my pen and I'm going to trace over my frame, but that is it, just the frame. It doesn't matter if your lines are wiggly or uneven. What matters is the pattern inside, so don't worry about your lines too much. Okay, here we go. In this first little square, rectangle, whatever it is, I'm going to make a U shape, and I'm going to start in this corner, and I'm going to swoop down and up. Same thing in this one, down and up, all the way to that corner. So I'm going from one point to the next, to the next, to the next. Okay, for the next line, I'm actually going to start in the middle of this one, and I'm going to swoop down, cross over that line, and swoop back up to the middle of this one. So the important part is middle to middle and swooping down to this line. And then same thing, middle to middle and swooping down to this line. And now when I make this one, we're only going to see half of it. So I'm going to swoop down and stop. because essentially it would come out the other side, right? But we're not going to show that. Same thing on this one. I'm going to swoop down and stop at that middle there. Did that make sense? I hope that made sense. Okay. For this next row, this would be the middle of this one over here we can't really see. So I'm going to go from here, swoop down, and then up to the middle here. Just like we did on that first section, I'm just going to kind of fill in this little square. So I'm going to swoop down and up, down and up, down and up. The next row, the last one, we're going middle to middle. That's what we did on this one. We just went up to the middle of this, middle of this, middle of that. So I'm going to start in the middle of this one because I can see it. And I'm going to swoop down and up, down and up. Then I'm only going to get half. And on this one, I'm only going to get half. So now we kind of have these little fish scale looking things, or like maybe a mermaid tail. So if I were just drawing on scrap paper, I would just go like this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to like be in a grid, but I wanted it in a grid for you guys just so that it made sense. Okay, now I'm gonna add a little aura to the inside. So I'm gonna start at this point here, and I'm gonna come down and up. And I gave it this little like crescent moon looking shape. Start at that point, come down and up. We end up with a wider space here and then these little narrow points. Down and up. This next row only has 2 full ones and then 2 halves. So I'm going to do the full ones first because I already know what that looks like. I go from point down and up, from this point down and up. For the half one, I'm going to go down and I'm going to leave it a little bit wider down here because eventually it would go back up, but we're not there yet. So we're leaving this little bit of a width. Same thing on this side, leave it a little wide at the bottom. Now we have 3 full ones, so I'm just going to go from this point to this point, this one to this one, and that one to that one. This next spot only has 2 whole ones, so I'm going to do those first. And then I have a half one and a half one. Okay. Go ahead and pause if you need to catch up, but hopefully you're about where I am. These 15-minute videos, I do tend to draw a little quick to fit everything in, so pause if you need to. Okay, now I'm going to skip those top parts. I'm going to go to this next section here where I have this beautiful little shape. Isn't that so cute? Okay, so for this part, this is also kind of a little bit tricky, but I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3 little bumps, and it's going to start up here away from that point, and it's going to come down, down, and then back up here. So it's going to be like this. 1, 2, 3. And then what I'm going to do is go from these little points, and I'm going to swoop up into there and up into there. So for this one, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. And I really want it to kind of dip down as close as I can to this little ribbon area. That one I stayed a little high, but that's okay. Down in this section, I'm going to do it again. So I go to those little points, but I go off just a little bit to the side, and I go 1, 2, 3. I know it's a little bit tricky, but just try it. If you want to do it in pencil first because that's easier, go ahead. 1, 2, 3. And then this one. 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to make myself go way down there, but for some reason, sometimes I just don't. I'm just doing the whole ones right now, not the half ones. So I think one thing to be careful of is that we're not going 1, 2, 3 like this. We really want it to kind of dip down and give it that really pretty thing. It doesn't really matter, but okay, 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. And also in Rose's variations of this tangle, she will sometimes put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, she does, it doesn't matter. You still get that same effect. Do you know what I mean? So whatever works for you. I just feel like if I stick with 3, it's easy on my brain. Okay, now I have these half ones. So I'm going to go 1 and then half of the next one. And on this one, I'm going to go 1 this way and then half. You could skip these half ones and just leave them open. It doesn't matter. You could also leave these top ones open. But if you don't want to leave them open, we're just going to imagine this 1, 2, 3. And then our lines will just only go up a little ways. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to leave these little bottom sections just empty. If you want to put some lines in there as if they were starting, you can, but I don't think we need to. Okay, that one, like, it looked so simple on paper, but then making it is a little bit tricky. But again, if you were just doing it to doodle, you don't have to overthink it. You can just make these little things, put in the auras, put in these 1, 2, 3s. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be complicated, but I wanted you to get a good idea of what it was meant to look like. Okay, let's do a quick little bit of shading, and then we're done. Okay, I'm going to do each of these ribbons first. And so to do the ribbons, I'm going to tuck in some graphite on each of those pointed ends, up in there, in there, in there, in there. I'm going to do each one. So find that little ribbon. If you have half a ribbon, then you're only going to shade the half that you can see. Then take my blending tool and I'm going to push it down into that inside part of the ribbon, but leaving some white. So I'm going to push it down and down on both sides, but leave that center white. So the darkest part is up in that point, and it gets lighter until it's white. And that's creating this illusion of this part of the ribbon being out towards the light more, and that the ends of that ribbon are kind of tucking deep in there. Look how pretty that is. I like to kind of step back, take a peek at it, make sure I hit every little ribbon. And then I'm also going to, on these little 3 things that hang down, I'm going to put some right up in that top part of those. Again, it just kind of gives that illusion that they're tucking back in there. I'm not doing those 3 top ones because we can't see where they tuck in. And I just push that down and out into those little decorations, just a little bit. See how that just makes it look like it's all got a little bit of shadow? All right, that's it. We did it. That is Cayke. And I think it is so lovely and such an easy one to fill in a space in a larger tangle. All right, I like to initial my work. And then I'll add the date on the back. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed that one. Follow me on Facebook at Let's Tangle for weekly updates, show and tells, and all kinds of fun things. And we'll see you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.